Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again with Assassin's Creed Origins. Time now for our next tour that we're going to do, which is going to be all about the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Or hieroglyphs, whatever it's called right there. We need to learn more about it, how they evolved through time, and what they can teach us about the ancient Egyptian culture. Estimate time for this one is 7 minutes, with 14 stations to take a look at. So, history experts again will take over from here. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the tour.
Welcome to Ancient Egyptian Hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphics were used as sacred writing, appearing on monuments, statues, and sacred papyrus texts. The earliest symbols that resemble hieroglyphs were on pottery dating back to 4000 BCE. This stylized form of signs and drawings was the only writing used from its ancient origins to the end of pharaonic history. Ancient Egyptians referred to hieroglyphs as the writing of the gods. Considered a difficult language, it was intended for pharaohs, nobility, and priests, and meant to be used in ceremonies, within tombs, and for government records. Since few Egyptians were able to read the ancient hieroglyphs, the mythological aura around the language was persistent, even in their own culture. The structure of hieroglyphs offers insight into Egyptian culture, not just in what the translations say, but in the structure of the symbols themselves. They were found on tomb walls, on sarcophagi, on statues, and on pottery, and were meticulously recorded in countless ancient papyri.
By the way, before we move on, we're going to hide the text here and show you the rest of the agricultural scene about the Tomb of Nat back in the 18th dynasty. So we're just going to show you the full picture right here. Alright, and we're going to move on to the fourth station.
In many temples, priests would perform rituals and daily offerings. These were accompanied by hieroglyphs used as spells. In tomb paintings, the hieroglyphs are represented with formulas to recite. These spoken words were meant to be spells which would allow the deceased to benefit from the offerings for all eternity. Spells and offerings were also written for the living, to enhance medicines and cure illnesses.
And again, same as before we move on, this is the papyrus with the worshipper performing the ritual scenes back in the 9th century BCE. So we're going to hide the text here and show you the full picture of it. There's also a top scene and there's a bottom scene as well, so you can definitely check out both of them. Alright, we're going to move on to the next station.
The most famous of ancient Egyptian documents is the Book of the Dead. Written in hieroglyphs and hieratic texts, it depicts important spells and rituals. These spells were intended to ensure a smooth transition from life to death and allow the deceased to safely navigate the perils of the afterlife.
Okay, we're going to hide the text in just a second. This is the mythological papyrus of Nesca Pashuti, or in other words, weighing of the heart. Same century BCE. Here's the full picture right here. I know I'm cutting in a little bit after they're done talking because there's a little bit more info on the left hand side after we just hide the text there. Alright, moving on.
Even after it was deciphered, the reading of hieroglyphs remained difficult at times due to the many directions in which they can be read. Depending on the orientation of the signs, hieroglyphs can be read left to right, right to left, horizontally or vertically, though never bottom to top. A clue on which way to read is to first notice which direction the figurative signs are facing. If a pictogram is looking to the right, then the reader is meant to start from the right and read towards the figure. Column text on a papyrus begins from the right, then goes top to bottom for each column. Text written on tomb walls resembles the structure of a page from a comic book. The text can be placed in front, behind, or above the character, and its symbols look in the same direction as the character. Another clue is that the name of a god or hieroglyphs meaning gods or kings are always written before the descriptive text. Compared to alphabetical languages, Egyptian hieroglyphs have more symbols. Confronted with the absence of vowels, the Egyptians invented a category of signs. When placed at the end of words, these signs help inform its meaning. For instance, a drawing of a lion will refer to a lion and also relate to the abstract concept of a lion as something dangerous or powerful. Middle Egyptian hieroglyphs contained a little more than 700 signs. By the end of the Greco-Roman period, there were 10,000 signs. Egyptologist Sir Alan Gardner created a list classifying common hieroglyphic signs and their variants.
Okay, so before we press on here, I understand they popped it up a little bit too quick here. We're going to hide the text. This is actually a hieroglyphics chart. This is part number 1 by John Baptiste Biajant in the 19th century. So let's hide a little bit of this. That's the hieroglyphics chart, and that's part number 1 right there. Moving on to the next station.
Ancient Egyptian languages have many similarities with Asian and African languages. They have evolved in similar ways to the various forms of written Egyptian. These languages belong to the Hamito-Semitic group. There were 5 clear evolutions in the Egyptian language, each with their own distinctive structure. These languages are known as Old Egyptian, Middle Egyptian, Late Egyptian, Demotic, and Coptic. Coptic is the only living language that allows linguists to define the vowel structure and to distinguish different dialects. While hieroglyphs and hieratic script give us an idea as to how the ancient Egyptian language was structured and written, the way it was spoken is still up for debate. The team opted for English as the spoken language, with the characters using ancient Egyptian and Greek words and accents. The language that is spoken in the background by the crowds is largely based on Sir Alan Gardner's Egyptian grammar. To help resurrect a dead language, we consulted Egyptologists and dialogue coaches to establish our target sound and cast actors with Arabic, Hebraic, and African backgrounds to bring the game to life.
Alright, so before we press on a little bit further, this is a, in the 12th station here, out of 14, this is a behind-the-scenes area of recreating the Egyptian language. Okay, So basically, this language here was spoken in the background by Sir Alan Gardner, who was the Egyptian grammarist there. Okay, and before we move on, let's hide the text here and show you the full picture. This is the Book of the Dead of Essaouirit. That's in the late period right there. And again, thank you to the Ubisoft team for checking out that book right there. A little bit tough to figure out that language. No doubt about it. Even I can't even read it. Anyway, thank you to the behind the scenes station there. Let's press on.
After Alexander the Great's arrival in Egypt and the establishment of his reign, Greek became the language used by the governing bodies. The inability to read hieroglyphs caused resentment among the Greek population. It's from this tension that the Rosetta Stone was created. The spread of Christianity ended pharaonic culture and resulted in the destruction of its pagan monuments. This also marked the end of hieroglyphic writing and understanding.
Alright, so that was the site of this Serapeon, which was torn down by the Christian papacy in 391 CE. That's the common end at around the 20th century. That ends the tour of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Boy, there was a lot right there to explain all about. There you go. Alright, on that note, folks, that is going to officially wrap it up right here, but we will be back next time with yet another tour, as we are covering every single one of these tours from the brand new non-combat DLC mode for Assassin's Creed Origins. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you guys next time. Take care.